get a player more visibility or more consideration than others? I know your time is valuable, coaching and recruiting. You look to certain clubs as clubs to
I think you have to look at your, like I say, you have to look at your goals. As a player, I think you have to have a plan. There's no specific, there's clubs that are going to get you more exposure. There's clubs that have more connections. There's clubs that do a greater job just with the recruiting process. It's not a highway to where you want to go, but there are clubs that do a better job. That's what they gear themselves towards. You have to do what you're comfortable with, though. And I think that one of the main focuses is that recruiting is in your hands as a player. And if your club team, you love playing with the group that you play with, and they're your friends, and you're having fun, and the coaching is pretty good, and you're getting better, there are ways to go to tournaments. You can guest play. Most major tournaments will ask for a list of players who want to guest play because teams will be shorthanded. So a kid from Illinois all of a sudden will be at, I don't know, down in Tampa playing with a Florida team because they needed a player. So there are always ways that you can accomplish your goals. It's going to be a matter of you having that plan. You know, I've worked with Sockers, I've worked with Eclipse, I've worked with Bolingbrook, I've worked with the Hawks. So I've worked with clubs from one spectrum to the next. And I'll tell you this, the players at every club that wanted to play college soccer are playing college soccer. Now, if your goal is to play at a certain university and you know where you need to be, don't fool yourself though, you need competition. Competition makes you better. So if your goal is to play at one of the top 5 D1 schools in this country, you have to get yourself to where that competition is going to push you to be at that level. So again, you have to kind of look at it, but you know what, playing with friends, there's nothing wrong with that, you know, but it's what your goals are. And sometimes you need to sacrifice. Sometimes you need to look at things and say, for my son, it was Michael Richardson at the Sockers when he was 10 years old. He went to play one indoor season with them, and he said, hey, Mike, I want to play with my friends. Michael is a professional soccer player, one of the best youth coaches, I believe, definitely in the state of Illinois. He looked at my son and said, I only played with my friends too. When you're ready, you come back. And my son went back when he was 14, and he had a great career over there. So, you know, he had his goals. He kind of looked at it his way. I could have influenced him one way or the other. I didn't want to do that. But I knew he was a good enough soccer player to play at a good school, and when the time came, I kind of said, hey, what do you think? You know, do you want to look at this? And kids have to make their own decisions, because if they make their own decisions, they're the right ones. If the parents make them, they're the wrong ones. So you want your kids to make their own decisions, and you want them to look at schools on their own, and you want them to take ownership. But they have to look at the prize. You want to play for these 3 people up here, you know, competition is going to make you better, and it's going to put you in a situation to where these coaches are going to be able to watch you at that competitive level, and they're going to be able to make those choices and say, hey, that kid can play here. If they're at a lower level, they may be as skilled, but it's not going to show. So it's going to be a tougher road. But you have to do, you know, with what makes you happy too, because if something doesn't make you happy, you're not going to be the player that you can be. So there's a lot of factors that go into it, but you know, if my kids wanted to play at a very high level, I would get them into that type of situation, because these coaches too need to know that that kid can play under pressure, that that kid can play at that competitive level, and they need to know that. Otherwise, you know, they can't risk everything on a player. I mean, it's just not going to work that way.